Okay, y'all. I am on the adventure of a lifetime. Do you hear me? I'm doing a police ride along. And I know y'all like, girl, why do you want to be in a police car? But that's fun to me because I ain't never been arrested. So I've never seen the inside of one of these vehicles. Unfortunately, I am not allowed to record the officer I'm with, nor am I able to record the car and stuff because of the restrictions from the police department. But that's fine. Y'all will see me and hear my excitement and my fear if something happens. So stay tuned for the ride. Y'all, so I've been out of my first call and y'all can see a little bit of the background, baby. That's where the criminals go. That's not where I'm going, okay? Well, we did a call. My first call, I was able to get out the car because it wasn't considered dangerous. And it was about an assault and damage to property that happened with her sister. So that was kind of sad. But I'm excited to be here, y'all. And I actually filled out some paperwork by hand. Not in the computer, unfortunately, because security purposes, I'm not allowed to do that. And I'm having fun. Nothing dangerous has happened. Don't want to jinx it. Don't want nothing dangerous to happen to myself or Officer Thomas. So I'm just chilling, y'all. This is really cool. I wish I could record him in his uniform and stuff, but I can't really record nothing. I can't record like the computer, nothing like that. But you know, you can see I'm in a, you feel me? It pays to have connections, okay? Connections in high places. God is good. God is my connect. Never forget that. Period. It's so tight in here. My thighs can barely fit. But it's okay. It's worth it. I'm just complaining about this little ass seat you done gave me.
Huh?
This little ass space. You know, I'm a little...
Man, I didn't give it to you. The police computer gave it to you.
I'm gonna need them to be a little more considerate.
I told you, we don't have partners. Normally my patrol bag and everything is there.
What's up, y'all? Guess where I'm at? I'm actually in the police department's like back area, you know, where the chief and stuff be at. Yeah, I got VIP status like that. I'm with Officer Thomas. Say hi.
What up?
Y'all, this has been so exciting. I got to file some paperwork. I actually got to go on a call. We on our way out to do another one. But I just wanted y'all to check in and let y'all know I'm official, okay? I think this actually was my calling, but God just blessed me to be with y'all instead. So I'm gonna accept that. Peace out till next time. Okay, y'all, I can record this call, but I can only record from a distance. So this is a mulch fire. We don't know why the police department got called for this, but that's part of the job, okay? But ain't nothing too crazy going on. The fire department, you know, they handling their business.
The guys that everybody like.
I like you. No, I've met a decent amount of good cops. How has it been riding with me today?
It's been eventful. I think you're bad luck.
You don't say that on camera?
Yep, I'm gonna say it on
That's
camera.
so disrespectful.
Because you being in my car has generated the most paperwork I've done all year. Other than that, you're fun to ride with.
Not the bad luck. You was having a paperwork issue before I even showed up.
I mean,
That's wrong. That's wrong.
you just knew you was coming.
Okay, you guys, so we're actually coming up on the end of my ride along. I do not want it to end, y'all. I had so much fun. Like, it was just exciting being in the passenger side. Like, y'all talk about passenger princess, baby. You ain't never been no passenger princess like this. Like, ever in your life. You never did it. I had such a good time. I feel like royalty for real. But our last call, we actually just did a mulch fire, which again, we don't know why we got called to that because you hear me? I don't know why we got called to that. I don't know why we got called to that because that's the fire department. Nothing that we really did. We sat in the car, I recorded a little bit, and we moved on. But the call before that, it was actually a woman who pressed her life alert button. I didn't know that with the life alerts, is actually it goes out to the fire department, or no, the ambulances, the EMTs, and the police department, which is actually pretty cool. At first I was like, what the police need to be there for? But it's a good thing we showed up, because we were able to do a lift and assist, is what it's called, where they had to lift her because she fell and she couldn't get back up. What I'm about to do now is actually a waiver saying that if something happened to me on hands, it ain't his fault. And it ain't the police department fault if I get hurt. But that's okay. I had a good time, so I'm going to go ahead and sign the paperwork. And for the closing of this video, Officer Thomas just got in the car, y'all. That's why I'm all distracted. But after I do my waiver, we're going to do a Q&A for Officer Thomas. He is not able to be in the video, as I mentioned before, but his voice can. And he can, of course, answer questions. Now, I don't know if some of these questions are off limits, because I'm going to go right off the dome. So if they are, he can just decline to answer. Or I can edit it out. Either way.
All right. There's your waiver.
Okay. This is my waiver, y'all.
You can ask some questions on the way to this call, but we got to go take a report. And then you can finish after if you want.
Okay, we got to wait to the car. Okay. So I can just wait to fill this out before I get out the car.
I'll do that now.
All right.
Just in case somebody drum kick you when you
Okay. I can do two things at once. So, what is the scariest call you have been on thus far? And speak up, please. I need my stuff to hear you.
Scariest call?
Yes. Where you was like, I'm fearing for my life on this call.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, I would say just a shooting that we had where shots were fired. You don't really know what's going on, and you screaming to get there, and shots are still fired. You're just down the roadway, and you see people screaming and running. That's happened to me 2 times, to where there was gunshots and people were running and scared for their life. You was running, trying to get to where the person was shooting the gun.
Okay, sorry about that, child. That was my fault. I had to clear out some storage. But Officer Thomas was explaining the scariest time was when there was a shooting, and pretty much he had to run towards the danger while everybody else was scared running away. But then he was getting into a what'd you call it?
A head-on collision between me and another vehicle. It was a drunk driver while I was at work. Hit me head on, and that person did not live. But obviously my life was at stake as well, so that was probably the scariest personally to me. But it wasn't a call, it was just me on patrol, and it just happened out of nowhere. So
And he didn't survive? The person didn't survive?
she did not.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
sad. That's sad. What would you say the hardest part about your job is?
I would say accepting death is pretty much the hardest part. But you do that at the beginning. I'm used to that from the military. But you accept that you could die any moment, any day. That's the hardest part to continue to have a mindset to do. Next to that is protecting people some people that support you and a lot of people that don't. While also accepting dying for the cause is probably the hardest combination.
Yeah.
But other than that, my job comes easy to me. I'm a people person. I'm a problem solver. So that's all normal.
Yeah.
So it's more psychological than anything.
Okay. This the call?
Yep. We got a theft at Kroger.
Okay.
So somebody stole something. We got to figure it out.
Y'all, we gotta go get a statement. Notice I said we is both of us. I don't, I'm official too. We'll be back. Is it true that police officers have a quota and that's why they be getting everybody with them tickets?
Yes and no. It's not called a quota. So if a department has performance objectives is what it's called. That means that they have to meet a certain criteria to get their evaluations every quarter. And part of those evaluations is traffic stops, proactive work, pretty much keeping, because the studies show that when you do traffic stops, you stop cars for traffic violations, it prevents people from doing crime. Sometimes you miraculously catch people on their way to do a crime, and just seeing officers' face and them stopping them reverts their attention to not doing what they were about to do. You find drugs, of course, you find stuff that you get off the streets, guns off the streets. So being proactive helps.
Right.
So some departments fuel off of that because they don't have as much of a call volume, whereas my department, our call volume is so crazy, which I'm not allowed to say where I work,
right,
that we don't have performance objectives here.
Right.
Because our supervisors can evaluate us off of our body cam footage and the calls that we go to and our contacts with the community. So it just depends on what department you go to. If you're talking about highway patrol, obviously they don't do domestics, they don't go to houses, they don't do city and township police work. They're going to have performance objectives.
Right.
So it's a little different.
So performance objective, if I'm understanding correctly, is not, oh, we got this quota, we got to give a whole bunch of people tickets. It's about being proactive to prevent further crimes.
Yes, and part of being proactive is obviously looking for things, looking for things out of place, and like I said, being proactive and not just waiting on the calls for the radio. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So, have you felt any conflict being a black man and also being a uniformed officer?
Yeah, that's just a constant thing. It's never going to go away because obviously we have our history with police as black people. And I actually do a presentation in my school officer role that I'm in normally during the school year, where during that presentation, we go over the history of policing. And if you look back in the history of policing, it was never great for black people at all, because the first policing that it was in the United States was slave patrols, to keep slaves in line, to keep us captured, things of that nature. Once we were free, they used patrols to patrol white communities and keep black people out of them, because obviously you just let a bunch of slaves loose. So now they want revenge.
Right.
Now the white people were scared that we would do something to them. Right. So policing was never created from a mutual standpoint of all different races and diversity. It was a white man's job, which is why a lot of black people still to this day don't respect police. But obviously it's 2024. It's been a bunch of decades and decades that obviously the world has evolved. So obviously no matter who you are, no matter what color you are, you need police. Yeah. Everybody does. I mean, there's bad people out here. People need to be protected.
Right.
So somebody has to do the job. My theory is it needs to be more of us, because if we just let everybody else police our communities, it never works that way. You need people that police you, that understand you in a different way.
Yeah.
But we don't get a lot of applicants that are diverse, that are women and black or Hispanic, stuff like that. So in some ways, it's not the fault of society that a lot of us aren't cops. It's just a lot of us don't want to do that job. And rightfully so. It's not an easy job to do. It's not a job that you are going to love every second of. Some days I think it's worth it. Some days I don't. And a lot of people, especially our people, look at you as person in blue uniform. It don't matter what color you are. You're not trusted. They don't have respect for you. They don't like you for whatever reason. And obviously those reasons stem from things that are past. So it's always going to be a thing where you got people looking at you sideways, and it's more of those than people that actually appreciate you. It just comes with the job, and when you're black and you're officer, it's both dynamics. Now, sometimes it work in my favor to where I can calm situations when it comes to people being of color, and I have some great people, but they're not trusted because of the things that I just mentioned, and they're not given the benefit of the doubt to be a great officer with white skin.
Right.
But I can show up and the whole atmosphere changes, and it kind of sucks because for my colleagues, I wish that wasn't the case, but thankfully it does help out. So it has perks. I also get to, like I said, connect with my community of people of my color, and show them a different way of policing and give them the insight on how it really is versus what they just see on social media. So
all right, looks like we only got time for one more question, y'all. It's sad, I know. I'm crying on the inside. Have you had to make a decision on duty that you regretted later?
Decision on duty I regretted later.
Yeah, because you got to make split decisions, wrap around.
Not me. I'm lucky enough to where every decision I've made, I haven't been in a lawsuit, I haven't done anything wrong, no excessive force, nothing like that.
Yeah.
I would say sometimes it sucks to have to arrest certain people.
Or you see him walking out.
You get some great people that, man, they just make mistakes, obviously.
Yeah.
But you have to do your job. And those are the worst. I mean, people that you wish that you could do something different, but you got to do your job.
Yeah.
So I would say, if anything, it'd be that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really don't have any.
Okay. Well, we're going to thank Officer Thomas for giving Kiesha the tour, okay? Because this was amazing. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
I asked Officer Thomas additional questions I forgot to ask during the ride-along.
Are ride-alongs open to the public? So can any citizen call their local police department or precinct and ask for a ride-along? Or is it only an option if you have someone in the police department that you know personally who's willing to have you accompany them?
Any citizen can ride along in any police department as long as that police department allows that to happen. Like us, anybody could come up and request to do so, but we have the final say so on if we let them. So you don't necessarily need to know anybody. You can just want to ride along, but they'll pretty much kind of question you, get a feel for what you're looking for and why, and then they'll figure out if they want to let you ride or not. So it's to the police department's discretion to let you do that.
Have you ever witnessed a colleague, a fellow police officer, doing something illegal or that was not morally just? And did you call them out on it?
I've never had to report any officer for doing anything unlawful or unjust or anything like that. I've never worked with anybody that was that way in my police department at all. When I worked at the jail, it was a lot more things that would happen at the jail that shouldn't happen. A lot of crazy stuff, but I don't work in that environment anymore, and I'm happy I don't. So I was quick, fast, and in a hurry trying to get out of that situation. I wanted to be a police officer anyway and not a corrections officer forever, but I did that as soon as possible. I didn't want to be a part of that. It's a completely different ball game down there. But no, I've never witnessed anything with any of my fellow officers to that magnitude at all.
Do you feel like the training you received to become a police officer adequately prepared you as well as everybody else for what you actually see on the job?
Now, the basic police academy is going to show you the bare minimum of being a police officer. But where you really become your own and really know what to do is on the job training after you do the basic police academy, because you're not going to run into every situation you can run to on the road. You're not actively going to calls in the academy. So obviously they give you the basics to get you out into the job. Once you get on the job, that's when you really get trained, and that's when you receive additional training that your department policies and procedures kind of iron into what training they want, and then you got to abide by state training.
What is your take on retrain policies that have been proposed to kind of reprogram the police from what it originally started as, which was a tool of racism, which was a weapon of racism? how do you feel about those retraining protocols that are being talked about and discussed?
There's constant training every single year, every single month throughout our department and pretty much statewide, nationwide. Everybody has to fulfill certain requirements on certain training every single year. And there's refreshers of the same training every single year that has to do with ethics, professionalism, case law, racism, all kind of stuff. So we're always training for stuff like that. As far as like trying to get away from like the past, that's been a thing throughout all of these years. And it's evolved every single year because policing changes every single day. Like there's something that happens that gets it to where it's a new case law out, a new situation that arises that the world wasn't prepared for, the Supreme Court wasn't prepared for, and they tweak to make sure that everybody is aware that, okay, this is a new thing that popped up, this is how we're going to handle it. So that's an ongoing thing. You either going to have it in you or you don't, as far as racism or anything. You can be a cop, you can be a waitress, a nurse, doesn't matter. You're going to have it in you, and whether you show that part of you or not remains to be seen. So I can't vouch for anybody that gets all of the training and knows right from wrong and how to walk amongst the earth and not be an asshole or a racist person. But unfortunately, you won't know until that person show their true colors. I haven't seen that with people I work with. So I can't speak from experience. Not as a cop. Like I said, at corrections, that's a completely different thing. I did experience that as corrections, but as a cop, I never had to see that stuff reported or anything, and we constantly have training that equipped us to do the job correctly.
Obviously, you're an officer. Defunding the police would mean taking away your own funds. What is your take on the defund the police movement, and what do you feel can be done to where defunding isn't necessary? Like, where do you lie on that issue?
As far as defunding the police, very unsmart, makes absolutely no sense, because 98% of us, I mean, not an accurate number, I'm just saying super high, almost 100% of us is a very small percentage of people that do bad things as cops or whatever are here for a reason. We help people every single day. We put our lives on the line for the greater good. Some days you come to work and it doesn't feel worth it. Other days it does. You go through that every single day, every single shift. And defunding that makes absolutely no sense because somebody has to do this job. And when you got people willing to possibly have their lives on the line every single day, every single shift, to deal with other people's stress and trauma, to take that stuff home every day and learn how to put it on the shelf healthily, not really a word probably, but you get what I'm saying. That's not for everybody. And it's a very few people that can do this job, which is why we are the people that's doing it in the first place. So to defund the police, to make it less bodies than policing already have, policing is already running short because you've weaned out as many of the cops that's showing signs of any unjust or racism or anything like that. You got the old school mentality cops that have retired and is still retiring, and you don't have a lot of people in this generation that want to go into this line of work or even qualify to go into this line of work. So you're dealing with the same people that's getting recycled department to department. It's kind of like a free agency in the NFL or the NBA where people are like, this department ain't a fit for me, I'm going to go somewhere else. That has happened plenty of times. So the turnover rate is high, but it's not high in the sense of people getting out of policing completely. It's the same people recycling department to department to find their better fit, because not every department is hiring at the time that you want them to if that's your dream department to work for. But there's definitely not a bunch of candidates knocking down a door to be a cop. Back then, you used to have like 300 people applying for 2 cop jobs in a department or something like that. Now you're lucky to get 30 qualified applicants for 6 jobs. It's pretty crazy. So with that being said, you don't want to just throw anybody in uniform. And you definitely don't want to take down the numbers of what you can do on the job. We didn't pass our levy this year. So that's huge because people didn't want to pay the extra money on their taxes. It took away a lot of our police services. It took away a lot of things that we're able to do. It takes away the amount of officers we can put on the road. We're already running short. We run short every single day. And it's very unsafe actually to run short because you're not making all the calls that you need to go to, and you're stretching officers very thin. Officers don't get sleep. They're getting burnt out. So to defund the police and make that worse makes absolutely no sense. And all it does is take away from everybody's safety at the end of the day, because it's always going to be bad people. And you have to have somebody that's trying to combat it as best as they possibly can.
So I decided I'm going to close out this video just with some key takeaways from the experience, as well as filling in any gaps that I noticed while editing the video. My biggest takeaway from this experience was that all officers deserve respect until proven otherwise. Like, officers, once they got that uniform on, they should be considered innocent until proven guilty. And the reason I feel like that now is because I used to feel that Officer Thomas was the exception. He was the one good cop out of a whole lot of bad cops. But after doing the ride along and then seeing the inside of the precinct and the way that the officers interacted with each other, the way that they interacted with me, it helped me realize that Officer Thomas is the rule. Like, majority of these officers are amazing. And even knowing one personally didn't make me feel like there was a majority of good officers, but actually being out there and seeing how much officers sacrifice in order to do the job. Officer Thomas didn't eat that whole day. He didn't eat anything, like no lunch. They don't get a lunch break. That was amazing to me. Like, to find that out. You never seen us stop for food because we didn't. Even when he was trying to, he would get pulled to another call. So there was no opportunity for him to eat. I had packed my own lunch based off of his warning to me that he may not get to stop and eat because they don't get an assigned lunch like you do at a regular job, a regular 9 to 5. So y'all, officers truly do deserve the appreciation. They put their lives on the line. And when something goes wrong, no matter how much bad stuff you want to say about an officer, you call the police. That's just the truth. You call the police. So if anything, we need to be pouring more money into these officers and not less. That's my biggest takeaway. They need more funding, not less funding. And we need more people of color, like Officer Thomas said, who are willing to do this job. You want to see change? Be the change. Bottom line.